I got to admit, I love the whole master masonry psychology that MIT puts to it. I think it's a big culture when you just specifically try to idealize it in one term. The bunny. Doomslayer bunny. Daisy. Daisy pattern, obviously, for the Rubik's Cube, turning this thing over. Probably all hat and get you on the steps that you need, and then eventually over trial and error,
folks,
you figure it out.
I think it's about time to get
Problem
started.
session 2.
Thank you guys for
All
making
right,
it
you
to our
little
problem session.
no
And I
crabby,
guess,
I'm gonna get you out of here.
talking to many of you guys virtually, given the number of people in the
You're
room,
looking
but
at
that's perfectly
weebles.
fine.
Or whatever,
Right,
because
so
this
we're
problem
in, problem
is...
session number 2 for 6006. Hopefully you're all in the right place.
No,
I'm Justin.
again, I'd like to focus
I
on
think
the
I was
masonry
looking at a little
and the
spreadsheet of
early
who's teaching what, and I think
introductions
you guys are
of
stuck
this
with me in a lot
rabbit,
of these
calc.
problem sessions, which
You'll
actually
have
I
a
think in
couple of
terms of hours
kids
of video
not
means
take
that you're stuck
notes,
listening to my voice the
not get
most.
them, not see them, not take
so
what
sorry
that
in
is.
advance.
It's only the second
But
class.
in
It's up
any
and down,
event,
but
it's
of
always
course
fun to
we
do this
bust
kind of
on
thing,
them like
and
the rookies
it
they
gave
are.
me the opportunity to do homework, which I
It's
have
good.
not done in a
Good
very
though.
long
The
time.
longer you're here, the better you'll
So
do for
last night I worked through all
tricks
these
and
problems
little things that you'll
came up
vibrate
with
to,
my
that
own
you'll
hacked
feel
together,
a relative
which
thing. Where a
thankfully
lot
more or
of
less
stuff
agreed with
on
what was
Tossio
the
Frisbee, when
answer
you're
key,
not
which
paying
I have,
attention to it, for
I think that we released on, so there's a bit of a, there's
negative
a known bug
8
in
million,
6006,
8
which is that this
million,
instructor has
16
horrible
million,
handwriting. I'm working on it. I went to the classroom and practiced
16,
the
well,
other
16
day.
million,
But
negative 16, 8
in the
million.
meantime, there are
And the
horrible
way that
handwritten notes
I'll
that are
let you know
posted
if
in
Frisbee's coming
the
first,
learning module, at least for
and then
the
toss it
duration
to
of
you.
the talk today.
Those
We'll
two
decide whether
different
we want to
things
leave
are
them
a
up or not, because
program
they're not
limit to these
super
problems.
exciting.
They can still be a
Just so
firewall
you can
brick
make sure
as
you can
much
follow
as
along with what I'm writing on
a
the board,
way to
and
design
as with
a
before, if
solution
there's ever anything that
if you
can't read,
put
just stop me
the
and I'll
information in it.
gladly, fix. Cool. So,
So we
right.
could
So
custom
hopefully, does
augment
everybody
at the
have a
end
copy
level.
of the problems?
Well, we've been using
They'll
Ollie
look a little
0,
different
Ollie
from this. The green
1,
stuff
and
is
then we'll
the
call
answers.
it
I
Ollie
get
Fan.
those in
Well, that's ours to design on the
or
problem.
sorry,
That's
I
how it
always ask
come
this
to us.
question when I'm
Somebody
teaching,
gave
and
us
you never
that
answer.
number
Does anybody not have a copy of the
comparatively
problems in the
to
problem
solving the
session?
hydrogen wave function.
Fabulous.
Schrödinger.
Okay. If you don't, there's a pile of handouts
You can
up
get
here.
into the Lagrangian and everything else, but then there's two different teachers talking about the Lagrangian. The only thing that's similar about it is some
Great. So, the basic goal of the problem sessions
Roman
is
or
to go over a bunch
italic
of example problems, which I believe
variants
are mostly
on
lifted
somebody
from past
pumped one
years,
out, the
homeworks
colleges
and
use
exams,
it,
and,
it's the
work
standard,
through
and
how we
regardless
went
of
about
what
thinking
college, it
about
has
them,
to be that NTF.
and a solution,
Must.
or at least just kind of sketch out
Now,
enough that we're confident you could fill in the blanks
and
of the solution,
or
given
the
our limited
some
time
specific
together.
verbication changes the multiple, the
Right. And of
addition,
course,
subtract,
one of the
nature
pleasures
of
of teaching this problem session is this is not normally the class
and
that I teach,
or
so these really are problems I haven't seen
in
before.
that set, but
And
we're
indeed, in
basically
the middle
saying
of
the
the night last
schematic
night,
works
I
in
woke
such
up
a
and
way
realized
that
my
the
answer to the last
linguist
problem was totally
could
wrong.
describe a
So
simulated
if you feel
scale,
that way sometimes,
if you will,
the feeling is
about
is mutual.
that YF
So in
over
any
X
event,
general
there are four
relativity
problems on your
spectrum, where
handout
we're adding
that
time
roughly,
as
I
we
think,
go
are in
along.
correspondence
We're
with the stuff
adding
we've taught
one
over the last week
or
or
a
so.
zero
So the first problem
that
involves
correlates in some
recurrences.
way of
The
time.
second
And it could be
involves
the entirety
infinity
of the
stones.
word, sentence,
The third
letter. It
involves
could be a
some
word,
kind of a queue
number
stack
that
structure.
quantifies.
And
Remember, we're
the
building to
fourth
the problem.
involves
See?
like all
Got a
kinds
problem.
of things talking to each other
You got
in a
one.
way that I got
Everybody
wrong.
else got it. Why didn't you?
So I guess for
Come on,
lack of
Doomslayer.
a more creative thing, we'll just go through these guys in order. And essentially, this is supposed to be an interactive session, although it
It's
doesn't
very
really look
subtle,
that way.
and eventually
But since you guys are
that
the people in the
skill
room, you have the
is
advantage
kind of
being able to
important.
stop
It's
me
it's
the second
a
that I A, make a mistake, or B, say something that confuses you, and I'm relying on
Wait for
you
it.
to do that. Okay? Nods? That's our deal
so
today?
he's still within the
Some
the
kind of
voltage
acknowledgement,
limits
noses
of
up,
the
the
ones and
laptop's maybe for a
zeros
second.
there.
Cool, thank you.
And even
See,
as the
thumbs up,
student,
that's what I'm looking
you were
for.
kind of right. You knew
Okay.
you probably should have
All right,
got it.
folks,
Warren Buffett, not
right,
buying
so let's start
Fannie
with,
Mae.
problem number one here. So problem number one is solving recurrences, which is like our favorite way
So,
to torture
you know
undergrads
his
in
ass.
algorithms classes in the first couple weeks. And in particular, applying this Master's theorem. So I thought I'd spend about 82 seconds reviewing Master's theorem because this is sort of the giant sledgehammer for solving recurrences without
All of a sudden,
understanding
remember how I was like,
why
you'll just
you
start
got the answer that
vibrating
you
in a
did.
wave function.
And then
I'll
for each
have
of
to
these
ask you as
problems,
students, and I'll
conveniently, this homework
normalize and
problem asks
adjust
you to do,
inside the
each,
Ollie 0, Ollie
Pigo
1 program.
thing twice, right? Once using
Start
Master's
hedging.
theorem to kind of get you used to just applying this little set of rules, which is sort
Well,
of the most
between here and
efficient
here,
way
you're not
to
gonna.
solve
Well,
recurrences. It just gives you a
he's not
formula
gonna
to
stab
look
me
at.
right now, so
in addition to
he's
that,
mad.
drawing a
That's
tree
5
of
volts.
computation
10 volts
and
makes
kind
it
of
blow the
counting the number of
server, and
computations you do. So the first two are basically straightforward applications
Wow.
of master theorem. The third
Recently,
one
Enron at
requires a little bit of
20%
thinking,
pegging
so
numbers,
naturally I got
the
stuck in
time
wasted an hour
curve,
yesterday trying to
with
convince
most
myself the answer is
10%
right.
being CNBC players that know
So,
stock
for a
models,
tiny bit of review, I know that you also
and
did
whatever
this in
5-point
recitation, but it
bucks
can't hurt
or
to bring it up
does they
again.
put out for the
Remember that Master's theorem.
meat grinder that day. Good, bad, or indifferent.
I believe that master really is just because it's general, right? There's not like a guy named Master, but I
5
noticed
years,
that it was
10,000
capitalized
hours.
a lot in the course notes.
I'll
but in
have
any event,
lots.
The basic
The
idea is
rough,
that it has
if you're going to play
recurrence that
gravity,
looks,
it's
like the
10,000
following,
hours of
which is
running
T of N
a 90-day
equals,
test. So I could pack that thing
T of
each day
N over B,
arbitrarily with a bunch of
plus
different experiments. Pennsville's 45-minute classes. I want you to make sulfuric acid in 45
right?
minutes.
So for
Go.
instance,
Now, obviously
in
not
merge
safe.
Sort,
Doesn't seem
for a tiny
safe.
bit of review, remember that we kind of split into two pieces.
You know, let's
So
stretch
both
out
A
that
and
line
B in
into
merge
a
sort would be
couple
2.
of those indexes
And the
to
amount of
deal
work that I
with
do
the
in the merge
cell
step
phone
is
circuitry.
kind of like N, so that's how to
Right?
fill in these different constants there.
And, you know, in a
the
critical
question is,
theory like
asymptotically,
that, you
what
could
does this
have
function look
something
like?
go
And of
pretty
course, that's not totally
radioactive,
obvious from
alpha,
this
beta,
formula because I've
gamma,
defined T
actions
in
at
terms
spooky
of itself,
distances
right?
that
And that's
pop
the sort
up
of
in
annoying part
probability
of solving
equations of
recurrences. And so
whether the
Master's
simulator or
theorem,
the town
and I'll let you
meeting is
guys
going to
review
go one way or the other
your
to the
section
vote.
notes about
I mean,
precisely
well,
how this
what's the
gets proved.
presentation of the
Essentially,
information?
it
There it
divides
is.
into
It's
3
basically programs you're
cases.
putting it in. Here's
And
the argument
the relevant
as
numbers
if it's
here
the same
are as follows, right? There's
program.
an A, a B, and an F. And so the A is kind of like a branching
And
factor, right? So if you remember your
everything in
computation
there
tree,
between A to
right,
B,
like in merge
there's
sort,
sub-answers
you
of
split
A
into 2
answers in this
pieces,
question. Whatever you
right?
want
So
design,
that
it's a
number
stone
is kind of
mill.
like A, so
Well,
the
there's
number of
different
splits that you
stone
make.
mills. There's 2 different stone mills that do
B,
not have the
is
same
the amount that
geometry
your
or
problem
numbers
size
of
reduces
saws
when
or
you go to each
crew
of those leaves.
or anything
And
else.
finally,
Now,
F is the amount of work that you do at
I
each
could
node.
hit from
Yeah,
that
so
base.
hopefully
That F
basic language
number
makes sense.
could be an
And then,
A,
essentially what you
B
learn from Master
system.
theorem,
They're binary
is
trees
that
for
there's
what it
3
basically does
cases.
here.
So the first
And you know
is
that by
that
understanding
F
binary
of
trees
N,
and this integral force
looks like-
is saying
By the way, in the
I'm
recitation
a
notes, for some reason,
strong
it's kinda
weak
written
force.
backward,
It
like they
plays
get the
by
answer
gravity's
to
rules.
Master
It's
theorem
a
and then the condition, I'm gonna
partial
write it in the other order.
congruency inside of the length of the
Right,
pipe
looks like the
or
following, which is
the
N
water
to the
hammer
log
inside of what's
B
dealing
of
inside
A
here. But
minus epsilon.
again, this Ingling's value
for
gives it position. You
some
might have it in a few different spots. You know, if
positive
you're going to
epsilon. I'm
have
gonna try to be very
those
conscientious about
quadrants
reading
mean a
while
thing,
writing
it's
out
all
loud as I
A-level
read.
mechanics to on, off, or in a
All right,
pattern
and in that
sequence
case,
of determining
what we find is, notice that
phase
there's something
orders
kinda
of
magic here, which
jumps
is that this
in
is just
its
an upper bound,
position.
it's not a theta
So
here.
if sigma
it's
is an
okay if
epsilon,
F is
or at least the
below this
level
thing.
of epsilon, we're saying the
But
pipe
in
still
any
runs
event,
N, but I might have
conclusion then is that
the
T of
5-volt
N
trigger go off
is
or the
big
0-volt
theta
trigger carry or
of,
conduct that information,
N
and it
to the
still will,
log
by
base
portions,
B
1s and
to the
zeros,
A.
stretch over that
It's kinda
code
cool if you think about
causally
it. You
to
only
the
have
speed
an
of
upper
light,
bound for F, but
right?
you
You
get a
know,
nice
electrons
theta
travel
bound
through a
for,
medium,
T.
FMA,
The
in
reason
that
for that is
system,
essentially
and
that
so
F
if
is
the
sort of
wire length
insignificant
is this
relative
long
to
or
the
this
work of just
long, there'll
traversing up
be
and down the
a
tree.
slight voltage drop, an approximation by
That's case one.
calculus. And you can
Case
check that with
two.
the multimeter
I'm gonna try
or
and leave this on the floor
lifespan
as
of
we
the
actually
light
solve
bulb,
these problems.
or
Is the following, which is F
radically
of N
increase the force of that
is
line
big
by
theta
increasing the
of
length to extreme
to the
systems
log
and seeing how
is
that
B
would
of
affect
A,
time space by
multiplied
how long that
by
light bulb
log
lifespan would
to
last
the
in
kth
calculus.
power of N.
So
This is
Seems
like
like
a
a fair
super
place to
weird
leave it
form,
for the
but
moment.
For example, it's perfectly
you know,
kosher
we'll
to
do
take
15.
k equals 0, in which case it starts to look like case 1, right?
night
for
1,
some,
A, B, C, D,
positive
E,
K,
F, G. Night
or
2,
non-negative k, rather.
Z, Y, X, A, B,
In
C,
which
D, E,
case,
F, G
what we
for
learn
code sequences.
is that
If I
T
give you
of N
this plus this
is,
above the equation, would you
theta
know how to crack
of,
that firewall
N to the
in a
log
code cipher
base B
encrypted
A,
under this type of
times
mathematical
log
design? Remember,
to the
infinity,
K
T,
plus 1
N, theta.
of N?
What do they mean to us?
You can see why we don't love applying this
You can
theorem
see
in
how
this
this could
course,
be a
because I feel like
problem
just
in
staring
the
at these formulas is, like,
outside
totally
world.
unenlightening,
I can't
but
help
it is
you
a
outside
giant
Area
sledgehammer for
51
solving
with the
recurrences
signals
quickly.
there.
And then
I think his name
finally,
was Nick. The colors being more relative
case
to the shapes
3.
and
I'm going to
its,
slide
and
the
its
board
name.
up and then I'm going to slide it back down because I don't want to bend over. Okay. Is the following, which is
You know, this black-white prime
of
game
N
can play as
is
advanced, but I might
omega,
have a
right,
larger
meaning it's lower
space.
bounded,
So we still have
by
a fractal
N to the log
compressed
B
manifold
of A
and
plus
collapsing,
epsilon,
infinitely expanding through changing concentrating fields of spectrums
epsilon greater
and
than
collisions
0.
of those spectrums. And so
we needed a second
when
case.
you're in the stone mill and you've limited it all to just your tasks in the mill or something like that, those tasks still collide in the same way. But there will be a very narrow scope across this system about how to get over there, how to deal with somebody walking this line while I'm walking this one, to a result of both of us working that task. Or a timeline where I have to do portions and then tomorrow do something different to reciprocate Lucy's pen car problem here about superposition. You know, and how electrons again would follow that causal nature given their spin now. That 1 and 0 there might be angry as shit from this one step here, given I need the whole loop to consist of 0 to 1. As long as it's still 0 or 1, that's fine, but it might have spin ratio or a phase operator, megahertz of blinking an LED that keeps it that way by how long or how mad that damn pixie is.
If you want to Google that, learn more. But in any event, that's going to be enough for most of the recurrences they care about in
calculator later.
So I've at least written our conditions down, and now they're going to sit on the left-hand side while we do 3 example problems to show how they show up in practice. Are there any questions about like what this theorem is telling us about life or how to apply it?
No, this does, because I don't have the geometry for it. It becomes geometry for it, I guess is what he's going to yell at me about. It comes to X, Y, the scale of the building. At that point in time, 0 and 1 is it that system. And I can agree with that because I will use this logic and theta and
so let's do an example
Engling's value and
so let's do part A.
Homogeneous
right, so in part A, they
bosonic
give you a
harmonic
recurrence, which
oscillator.
isn't all that different from merge sort or any